Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Enchanted week with me, Katie, Intuitive Empath. We are going to go through the stories and the journey of the Enchanted spreads, which are meant to hit on the harsher points of life, but make it more understanding by speaking through fairy tales, folklore, and mythology. This is a combination of all of the above. And to give a little disclaimer, this one does talk more about growing into femininity and womanhood. So there may be some things here that may make some uncomfortable, but do stick along, as you may never know what you may hear. So this starts with the Scottish tale, which is much like our Red Riding Hood, but there's this called Tam Lin. Okay. Now, Tam Lin is much of a battle story as there was a lot of fight that happened here. Here, or lead here in the story is a maiden, and they or have told them that young maidens who go into the forest either have the opportunity to have something taken from them by the elves or something that will take their virginity away and bring them almost newfound gifts, if you will. So they have to almost lose something to gain something here. And our elves and our gnomes and our fairies are always known to be tricky in all these stories, of course. So, of course, why not? Another trickster here in this one as well. So this young maiden one day goes out dressed to impress, to go into the forest to see what would happen, what would come of her. And upon there, she stumbled across an entity. We'll say an entity here in this story, but in different versions of this, they have different beings that may have presented themselves. Here in the Grimm's version, we're going to tell you of the entity that came. Now, she did not know at the time that it actually was taking her innocence and her virginity. When she went there, she went and plucked a rose of her own choosing, and it was a two-headed rose, which was a little bit different than most roses and how they grow. And beyond came the entity and it said, "What are you doing? You're taking what's mine." And she said, "Well, this is my father's land. I'm allowed to explore wherever I want. So I wanted to take it for myself." The entity was intrigued by her and her boldness, if you will, which is why it chose to not take something from her of the physical sense, but to take her virginity. And doing so, it actually impregnated her. She had no idea, though, until she had went back out. And then she had to, of course, let her father know of what was coming for her. Okay. And so now, moving along, she comes out months later and she goes, "I'm going to go back in because there's something here with this entity that truly called to me. And so I want to talk to it again. I want to see it again." So brave again, she goes back in, not knowing what would come of it, because as she's always heard, it's either they take something from you or they take your virginity. So it already took her virginity, so did not know what else. She had no idea what else it could take from her. She just wanted the chance to stumble across it. Once again, she sees the entity as she goes and cuts another double-headed rose and goes, "Here you are, bold again, taking something that's mine." But of course, fascinated again by her. Suddenly, it almost seemed as if they had like this back and forth play, if you will. They were kind of fond of each other. But now the entity, knowing that it only had a third opportunity here, and in this time it feared for its life, and it would present itself in different shapes to her because that was unfortunately its curse. It tells her that, listen, there is a sacrifice that we make here in the fairy kingdoms, and he thinks that he's going to be the one who gets sacrificed, and he says, "I will transform 3 times, but you have to hold on to me if you truly love me, and then throw me into this water, and they will try to tempt you. They will try to trick you. They will try to tell you that something bad will happen to me, but you have to ignore all of these things and just follow my advice and throw me into the water, and I will become a man again, because this is not my true form." It's a huge part. This was not this one's true form, but when you're making deals, when you're accepting things that you're not meant to accept, you never know what the contract may be behind it all. So this was what it was. It was able to give gifts, but it was also able to take away. Now remember, she was still impregnated with this child, and she wanted so badly to have her vision of wholesome. She had fallen in love with her idea of what it is that this person was, or this entity was. So she scrupled herself. She went back through the forest, and just as he had said, she was able to spot him out, and they were in fact going to go sacrifice him. She pulled him down and He jumped into her arms, and of course, just like those tricky fairies, they churned him into rocks, and then something cold, and then finally hot, cold rocks that in theory should burn her. But her love, she held on, she clung to it because she believed what could come of this. When she threw him into the water, he did become a man. And though the fairies were upset because they had been outsmarted themselves, they could do nothing but give her free pass. So now when this story comes, you got to go, what is the purpose of this? What's behind all of this? Well, I tell you, when this comes in your life, this card tells you, what are you battling? What are you holding on? Is it something that will truly serve you purpose? Are you willing to wait? Are you able to have that hope that comes out? Are you manifesting with intention? Okay, in the story of Tam Lin, she knew what she wanted. She knew what she desired. She set herself up for the entire path. She had no idea what the road would truly present itself. And that's oftentimes what happens with a lot of us. We don't know what's truly going to come with it, but we give it a try anyways. But is this, as in the mermaids, a toxic energy that comes in? Are you risking it all for something that's not meant to be? Or are you putting your hopes into something that will bring you a sense of fulfillment? In this instance of Tam Lin, it was a long journey. It was one there was a lot of risk and a lot of chances, but ultimately it was something that gave fulfillment. Here in our mermaid tales, though, there's toxic things that are coming and you're holding on, fighting, hoping that it'll make some sort of a difference, but it won't. If this thing is cursed, it may always be cursed. If this thing is not meant for you, it may not always be meant for you. But oftentimes we find ourselves playing the fence because we see our desires, but we're not willing to go through the dirt to get through it. We're not willing to go through the struggles and the hard times. We want it to be easy. You can't have both ways all the time. Now, a moment's regret comes from Alice, and this seals the deal, kind of brings it all home. Okay. This girl lived fearlessly and did not let herself regret coming into there, regret getting impregnated, regret having to take on this new life and these new opportunities and situations that were happening. And at her own avail, at her own risk, at her own damage to herself, she still went after everything she wanted. She did not regret any of her decisions because it got to her goal. This is telling you to focus. What is it that you want in your life? What is it are you holding on to? If it's something that will get you there, keep fighting and keep pushing no matter how hard it is, no matter how long it is, stay determined. But if you allow this thing to keep ruling you, you'll never know what you may have that comes in and really changes things around for you. So stay focused, stay excited, and understand just like these fairy tales, there can be some sense of happy ending. It may have a trick, but it may be something that you find a lot more fulfillment in. I hope that you guys enjoyed this spread as you do the many others. And make sure you check out all of our other great show times and our great YouTube content. I'll see you next week.
Now what's this now?